Okay, so that's the end of my my first practice session with the new backhand rubber. I've gone for the Dignics 05 with the 1.9mm sponge. I decided to go for the 1.9mm just so that I had a little bit more control, basically. I've been using the Rakza 7 soft for probably a couple of years now, I would say, something like that, and I've not had any problems with it. It's done everything that I've wanted to do. It's nice and soft, so it feels like it's quite nice and easy to control. I mean, I've been getting so many conflicting pieces of advice from various different sources, and some people think it's good, some people think I should try something different, some people think I should try something faster, some people think I should try something a bit harder, then other people think that I should try something soft. So I mean, I'm sure as you've all experienced, it's a bit of a minefield when it comes to choosing different rubbers. So anyway, so I mean, I think that the main issue that I have with my backhand is that in both backhand to backhand exchange and backhand open ups is that I tend to like lift the ball off the end of the table. It comes back to primarily my technique, and I know that, and I know that putting a different rubber onto my bat is not going to sort of like solve all my problems, and I'm just all of a sudden going to have a backhand like Krianga and I'm going to be beating everybody with my backhand. I know that's not going to happen. The first thing that I have to change, or the first thing that has to get better, is my technique. So I'm more than aware of that. Like I say, obviously the main issue that was brought up in the training camp that I did in Birmingham is that I tend to drop the bat down and then lift it up, both backhand and forehand. But it's a little bit more of a problem with my backhand because I'm not quite as good at spinning it. Whereas you see, I can spin my forehand quite well, and I can get away with dropping the bat and lifting it. Certainly, technique is the first thing that has to improve, but also, I'm definitely open to trying different rubbers just to see if I can get a little bit more out of it. Forehand rubber, Tenergy 05, I'm more than happy with that. But I've got no plans on changing that anytime soon. I think it's an absolutely fantastic rubber. But the like I say, the backhand, I'm still open to sort of, doing some exploring, some investigating, and seeing what's going to work best. So the Dignics 05 was recommended to me by one of the lads that I play with. And again, my initial concern was that I don't want something too fast on my backhand. I want to be able to control, and I want to be able to, I don't want anything that's just too quick, basically. The one thing that I found when I used the Tenergy 05 FX a few years ago on my backhand is that I just couldn't really control the incoming spin. If somebody was to loop at me with heavy spin, I couldn't really block it. Well, I could block it, but it was going off the end of the table. So that's been my my main concern. I want something that, and of course it's not easy to find something that's got a balance between some good speed for when you want to hit it a bit faster, when you want to do like a good backhand open up, and then having something that's got the control to be able to block quite nicely. So anyway, so it was recommended to me. Obviously you saw that I put the rubber onto my blade, and thought I'd give it a bit of a try tonight. And to be honest with you, initial impressions are pretty good. I would say that the first few shots, the actual sound of it was distinctly different to the Rakza. It had a much harder sound, much harder feel. And I suppose like with a lot of these things, initially I was a bit like, oh, I'm not so sure if I like this. It feels a bit kind of clunky. But as we went on, and as you saw, I was knocking with Neil McGrath. Neil's got very good topspin forehand. And one of the things I actually struggle with Neil generally when we're knocking is that because he's sort of left-handed, he kind of comes around the ball a bit. So if I'm trying to block with my backhand back to him, it's always trying to drag the ball to the right. So I actually have to I'm always having to like angle this way to control it, to keep it on the table. If I just kind of block it back straight like I would do with someone who's right-handed and we're doing backhand to backhand, then it'll pull it off the table. So it's always a bit of a struggle for me to do that. But what I did find is that I was actually, even when he was really kind of like trying to rip at it, I was able to control it really nicely. So the sound was different to what I was used to, but I just felt like I had a little bit more control over it. And I think that's probably a combination of it being a little bit harder and the fact that the sponge is 1.9mm as opposed to like the max, which I think is 2.1 in the Rakza. Yeah, so I felt like I had a really decent amount of control, which is obviously really important. But then also when I went to do the open ups, I did find that the ball was probably coming off a little bit lower than I expected. So the throw angle is probably a little bit lower than the Rakza. But I did find that, you know, if I really kind of ripped at it, I was actually getting a really nice trajectory because it was going high enough over the nets to clear it, but it was going, you know, nice and low, so it was quite direct flight. And again, I think that's probably a good thing for me, because the problem I'm having, like I've described, is I'm generally lifting it off the end of the table. So something that probably flies a little bit lower, and that I have to, you know, even if I have to, I think doing a backhand open up, if I kind of know that the ball's going to come off a bit lower, I know that I just have to lift it a little bit more, and I'll be able to get it on. So yeah, initial impressions are pretty good, actually. I mean, it's early days, and I've had it before with rubbers where you start off and you have a bit of a practice session, you think it's great, and then you get into a match and it's like, oh, I can't do anything with this, and it doesn't quite feel right. So I'm not expecting to, like I say, suddenly become a world beater because I've got this rubber on my backhand. But yeah, the early signs are quite good. I mean, it's not hugely different to Rakza, and I mean, I think for me, like, my game is not highly enough tuned that slight differences in rubbers are going to make a massive difference. I think if I went to something hugely different in terms of the characteristics of it, you know, like if I went to short pimples or I went to something that was really slow, I would notice the difference. But you know, the difference between a lot of these rubbers is not massive, and like I say, I'm not good enough really for it to make that kind of, you know, significant difference to my game. But like I say, I'm quite I'm quite excited at this stage just to see how we get on. So obviously I'll keep you updated. Let me know as well what everybody else thinks. Like, do you think that the Dignics 05 is a good choice for a backhand rubber? Would you recommend something different based on my game and what you've seen, the way that I play? But yeah, like I say, comment, you know, put some comments below. I'll always respond to them. I'm always really interested to see what people think. So yeah, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.